Okay, we'll get started. So, good evening, everyone. This is the June 26th, 2023 Town of Lewisboro Town Board meeting. So welcome to the folks who are here, the folks on Zoom. For the folks here, there's an exit to the front of the building and an exit to the rear of the building. If you will, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. This is the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, we'll start with public comment. Does anyone here want to speak? Go ahead, Jen.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jennifer Cipriano from Vista. I'd like to speak to you tonight about the potential pedestrian bicycle bond, a safety bond. Having lived in Vista and operating a business here for the last 13 years, I see tremendous potential for our hamlet to become an even stronger community. Creating a shared use path from Vista Park through the 123 corridor up to Elmwood Road would have significant health and economic benefits. This path would safely connect our green gems like Vista Park and Onatru with the important resources like food, goods, and services. Studies show definitively that walkable communities are healthier, more diverse, resilient, sustainable, and greener. Walkability should be a choice that people of all economics and abilities should have. It is good and proper land use and helps us towards goals of diverse living opportunities. What good is our beautiful hamlet with all of its green space and resources if all that happens are vehicles racing through it as if it were an extension of the Merritt Parkway? We really, truly appreciate you considering us, the Vista Hamlet, with the consideration of this bond. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jen. Anybody else like to speak?
Hi, I'm Steve Manello, and I've lived in Vista for 28 years. So I'd like to echo what Jen said in terms of support for Vista. And I think as the town board considers this bond and equity and opportunity for all the hamlets, just want to advocate for Vista, because in living here for 28 years, we love this community and want to continue to see it foster and grow. And I think for the opportunity to have a shared path is something that we're all advocates for. To connect not only our community, but our businesses, and look for opportunities to create more of a community and invite more people into our hamlet and into Lewisboro. And so you've got a lot on your plates and a lot to consider. And I just want to say we appreciate what you do. And we look forward to hearing more, not only about the bond, but for the comprehensive plan. And we just want to make sure Vista continues to be just as much a priority as the other hamlets within our town.
Thank you, Steve.
Good evening. I'm Kathleen Manello. I'm actually the other half. And I thank you for giving me the opportunity for a few minutes to talk to y'all tonight. We've seen a few at different events down at the Vista Park. We've had such a success of the communities, not only based here, but also based in the streets around us. We have a community that brings everybody together, and it's getting stronger and stronger. As my husband has said, we've been here for a long time and we've seen a lot of change, but I think we've got so much to do and so many things to do for our state as well as our area to come together. And a part of that is the entrance from Connecticut into New York. We've talked about it as our own community, and we really need to make things happen. So we appreciate you, all of you listening to us, but we need a connection. We know that speed on 123 is horrendous, but at the same time, having something like this really causes people to stop for a few minutes to say, wow, that's Vista. And when you think of our name Vista, why wouldn't you want to stop? It's our name, it's Vista. We want to emulate all that. So we really enjoy our community. It's growing. When we were down at the Easter egg celebration and the hunt, it was so much fun seeing families coming just not from our few blocks that we haven't even met ourselves in the past few years, but other people. So it becomes, we're the entrance, but also we want to connect to everybody else, and to have us go all the way up the street and have connect to all the restaurants, Greenwich Produce, all of those, the gas stations. I think it will unify us even more, yet also bring more opportunity for businesses. And that's what we want for everybody. So I appreciate you listening to me, and thank you again for your time.
Thank you.
Hi, Jonathan Monty, Golden's Bridge. I just want to say that I'm in support of this bond as well. 13 years ago, Dan and we started work in Golden's Bridge, and we would hope that you really truly consider this, because again, just to reflect the people in Vista's sentiments, it would really enhance Golden's Bridge, as well as considering we have the proximity to a train station, and we have a lot of well-developed old neighborhoods that have a strong sense of identity, but can be further tied together. And so I have to say, and thank you, and I truly hope that you do support this.
Thanks, Jonathan. Anyone else? Sorry.
Thank you, Dana Collins. I don't know if this is the right place, but I just wanted to say thank you to the town board and everybody that worked on the playground. The Lewisboro Improvement Committee, all the way back to Jane Crimmins. I mean, I am so impressed that this community did it on their own and didn't raise anybody's taxes for it. It was just mind-boggling. And even though I don't have little kids, I wish my little kids were here. They're in another country, but I sat and watched those kids be kids. And that's something we don't have enough of, especially in this community that has a lot of new young children. I even noticed it in Golden's Bridge, a lot of little kids. So congratulations to you guys, and I hope you keep it up.
Thank you. Did you notice the new playground in Fox Valley?
I haven't been to.
There's a new one there.
Yeah, I should, yeah, I guess I should.
Yeah, smaller though, but it's, yeah.
Thank
you.
Quality.
Anyone else?
Mr. Stevelman.
Lena, or please, no. I'll go ahead.
Hi, Elena Dunn from South Salem. Also echoing a lot of this positive comments. I think walkability of the hamlets makes so much sense. So yes, Vista, give them sidewalks. Cross River, give them sidewalks. And Golden's Bridge, sidewalks. Why not connect those things, so people can bike or walk to those shopping centers? It'd be great for the businesses there, and just great for the entire town of Lewisboro, from corner to corner. We're one Lewisboro. And what a great month of June this has been for the town of Lewisboro. These great town events that you were all at, the fireworks at Onatru, fantastic. Juneteenth, fantastic. And yesterday, Pride was wonderful. So many new residents were there, so many residents. Marianne's first time there, been in town for 30 years, and I met her and chatted about Pride, and it was great. So it was really fantastic event. And again, with the playground, it's kind of like the jewel of Lewisboro. It just works. So the hard work that you all have been doing has been really appreciated and noticed by this community. So continue. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Paul Stevelman. I've lived in the town for 20 years, and that was beautifully said. So I don't think I can add much to that, except that, love living in the town. I think one of the strengths of the town is there's not one Lewisboro. All the way from Golden's Bridge to Cross River down to Vista. It's a number of different neighborhoods, each facing their own issues. And I think that creates the challenge, which is how do you serve everybody at once? I think the long-term goal is connection and inclusivity, because the more we can connect these neighborhoods together, as was just said, the more you create one town where we share common interests and we can all succeed together. So to the extent we can, build infrastructure which creates long-term connectivity across the town so that we all share more in each other, get to know each other, and create a neighborhood of one Lewisboro. I think that's in the best interest of the town from a financial and also from a standard of living standpoint. So that was all I wanted to say. And thank you for the work you're doing.
Thank you, Paul. Anyone else here like to speak? Okay, we'll go to Zoom then. So our town clerk is not here. She's in transit, and because of the weather, her flight was delayed. So I'm taking over for bringing in people over Zoom. So hopefully I'll do this right. Carol Cernak, I'm asking you to unmute.
Hi, good evening. It's Carol Cernak, 70 Spring Street South in South Salem, New York. I'm talking tonight in regard to the Salt Dome lease agreement for timber, debris, soil, and mulch that has appeared before the town board on several occasions. Last time I communicated with Tony on June 14th, and the town board, I was told by Tony that we were waiting on language to be changed on current contract, and that the only bidder, Hickory Homes, and he planned on putting it on tonight's agenda and would keep me posted. When the agenda was issued for tonight's meeting and saw it was absent, I contacted Rich and other town board members. I had previously spoken to Andrea and did speak to Rich with an update. I never heard back from the remaining town board members. My hope is that someone will speak to the decision as to why this was tabled and be transparent with the community as to why that decision was made. I appreciate the town board listening to the collective voices of those who are impacted and the concern for our local environment and resources, and to look outside the box to deal with timber, debris, soil at the Salt Dome site. Again, a brief explanation would be most appreciated, as this has been a constant, almost 3-year process. I encourage everyone to speak your mind and don't be intimidated by roadblocks. Don't give up, because everyone has a voice in the community and everyone's voice matters. Thank you. Carol Cernak.
Thank you, Carol. Okay, next I have someone that comes up as Zoom user. Please, asking you to unmute and please state your name and hamlet. Let's try again.
Hello?
Yes.
It wouldn't let me put my name in, so it's Letitia Stapleton, Golden's Bridge. I just wanted to say what a great weekend we had. Well, actually a week. So we had my first time attending the fireworks, which was amazing. I was able to take my son to experience this up here. So the fireworks, Juneteenth was a success. I'm so happy. So many people came out to enjoy, and I told you would have fun if you come. And then Pride was amazing. I really enjoyed Lewisboro's strong. Like, we really stick together. We really have fun. And it just made me so proud to be part of Lewisboro. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Letitia. Okay, next is Marianne Lansdale. I'm asking you to, oops, hold on a second. I think I clicked on the wrong one. Okay,
Hi,
Mary.
Marian Lansdale, Vista. I just want to support everything that the town board has done, the comprehensive plan that you've got getting in place, and really reiterate everything that Vista residents and Golden's Bridge residents and anybody there has said about us being one town. And Vista has really done some amazing things, including the movie night that we had and the cleanup that we did at Vista Park. And we're really making an effort to let this end of the town be a welcoming spot from people coming from New Canaan and Connecticut, where they can come over the border and breathe a little differently. So thank you, and please support Vista.
Thank you, Marianne. Okay, next is Barbara Mangione.
Can you hear me, Tony?
Yes.
Okay. Barbara Mangione, Golden's Bridge. I want to just say, first of all, that I totally understand the concerns of a lot of the Vista residents concerning speeding and walkability. We certainly have those issues over here in Golden's Bridge and have had them since I moved in 30 years ago. Having said that, however, and I do try to get over to Vista, I try to visit all our hamlets so that I'm shopping in as many local places as I can. And as a matter of fact, I was over in Vista 2 weeks ago. But having said that, most of the plans for this bond cover state roads. And I have said this before, I do not think that we should be floating bonds, procuring money from residents to do improvements on state roads. I'd love to see some of these things done. It is totally the responsibility of our town and our local politicians and our state politicians to get this money from New York State. This is what we pay taxes for. If we want sidewalks, if we want walkability, if we want safer roads, and they're town roads, I have no problem with it. But most of these are state roads. So I will say I support the concept of safer roads, but not using town money, not using money from town residents. Thank you very much. Have a nice evening.
Thanks, Barbara. Okay, and that's it on public comment. So actually I have one more. This was an email I received from Daniela Goldman, who wasn't able to make tonight, but she sent me this email, which I'll read on her behalf.
So moving to communication.
No, actually, it's public comment.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's really, she asked me to read this.
Oh, sure.
She said, I will not be able to attend tonight's meeting, but I just want to write an email in my support of the Vista community, receiving a portion of the bicycle and sidewalk bond. As you know, we have created a Vista Stewardship Council and are trying to raise awareness of the need for a walkable pathway in Vista. Not only will this pathway improve safety on our streets, it will also create a sense of community as well as beautification to our area. I hope you will consider Vista receiving some of the bond money. Please let me know if you have any questions. Hope the meeting goes well tonight. Thank you for your consideration. Thank you, Daniela, for that. Okay, next we'll move to communications. I have a couple of things. So first of all, this was a letter to Chief Alfano, who happens to be here in the back. This is from the town of Newtown, Connecticut. Dear Chief, on May 25th, 2023, the Newtown Police Department conducted a K-9 sniff at the Newtown Middle School. Our department is grateful for the assistance of Officer Llewellyn and K-9 Zane in our efforts to maintain a safe and healthy school environment for the staff and students. Your support of our department's mission is meaningful to all of our officers, and we look forward to continued interagency cooperation in the future. So thank you for that, Chief. But there is one more. This was back a couple of months ago. This was a press release from the Brookfield Police Department where I'm not going to read the whole thing, but basically there was an investigation into narcotics trafficking. And the investigation was identified as Operation Trinity Cafe. And it began after Brookfield Police responded to a non-fatal overdose and became aware that an individual from Danbury, Connecticut, had been distributing narcotics in and around Brookfield. With the assistance of the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Agency, New Milford Police Department, Ridgefield Police Department, Lewisboro, New York Police Department, mainly K-9 Zane, who's part of this, and the Newtown Police Department, members of the Brookfield and Danbury Police Department executed search and seizure locations at multiple residences. And as a result, 18 search and seizure warrants and arrests, total of approximately 2 pounds of crack cocaine, 5 ounces of powder cocaine, 4 pounds of fentanyl, 1.6 pounds of opioid pills and drug paraphernalia were located and seized. Investigators also seized approximately $20,000 in cash. So thank you again, Lewisboro PD, for participating in that. Then I have a couple more. These are emails that were forwarded to me. This is related to our building department. This is both of these are related to the Lewisboro Commons, the affordable housing complex in Golden's Bridge. This was an email to Kelly, our building inspector, and Kara Sullivan, who's the administrator in our building department, from Sal Malfa, who's a project manager with Griffin Construction, who did work on this project. And the email states it's directed against Kevin and Kara. I would like to say thank you today you just made, and this was on May 25th, which was the date that we issued the certificate of occupancy on the last building of Lewisboro Commons. So he goes on to say, I would like to say thank you today. You've just made 10 more residences very happy having a new place to live. And then the other one is from John Baillardi, who's one of the principals at Waldo Balter, the developer of the complex, and also the company that's continuing to manage the property. Kevin and Kara, thank you so much for all of your efforts and guidance in getting us to the finish line. We know how hectic things are and very much appreciate your professionalism and understanding. Our incoming tenants will be pleased as well. That was sent on May 25th as well. So thank you to our building department for the excellent work. You can clap. That's all I have for communications. Consent agenda, which includes approval of minutes of June 12th, 2023. I motion that we approve consent agenda. Do I have a second?
You do, second.
Discussion, all in favor? Aye. New business. So just so all are aware, our town clerk is not here tonight. She was delayed in transit coming back. Her flight was delayed. So our counsel, Greg Porchetti, will kind of take the role, sort of. I'll manage Zoom and he'll manage everything else that town clerk does. So new business. The first item is a resolution approving the annual cycle of support charity bike ride, use of town roads. This is something that we do every year. So I'd like to go ahead and motion that we approve their request for this charity bike ride on town roads. They do.
So moved.
Discussion?
Just note that the email indicates there's not going to be any road closures, no barricades, riders follow all rules of the road, use the shoulder or bike lane when available, so no impact on normal traffic.
That's correct. Do I have a second?
You did. So
Did I?
discussion, we're good.
Oh, sorry. Okay, discussion? All in favor?
No, wait.
Please.
It was Andrea who moved it,
Moved it, so
and I'll second.
you'll second, okay. Excuse me, Rich.
We said
All right,
motion,
next.
and then second, okay.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So next is a resolution approving the police department's request to purchase a pickup truck. So let me, and the chief is here in case there are any other questions, but basically there were funds from from the insurance company from a prior vehicle that we submitted a claim that resulting from an accident, and we received $40,000 from the insurance company for that vehicle. And then we also had leftover funds from monies that were not utilized, that were meant to be used towards a lease in budget year 2022. And with those funds, we have from, from the Neuer Chevrolet at the cost of $53,900. By using those funds, the police department would like to have this vehicle, and they're going to be replacing. There are three other vehicles that are, and this is another item here, that'll be sold as surplus through Auctions International, and the funds from that sale will be used to outfit the new vehicle. Is that correct, Chief?
That's correct.
Okay. So, unless there's any questions for the chief, I'd like to motion that we approve request to purchase this pickup truck.
So essentially, we're using existing resources to get a new vehicle, which should be no net cost based upon the claim and what we already have, which was not utilized from 2022.
The money will be available. I'll second that motion.
Discussion?
Roll
Oh,
call.
yeah, he's sticking with this.
Shaw, yes.
Aye.
Aye.
Andrea Rendo, yes.
Dan Welsh, yes.
So the next item related, and as I mentioned, this is a resolution approving the police department's auctioning of three vehicles, which are listed in this document as a 2017 Chevy Tahoe, 2016 Ford Explorer, and a 2014 Ford Explorer. The vehicles will be listed on Auctions International, with which we have an active account, so there's no cost associated with the auctioning.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor? Aye. Okay, next item
Do
is
we
the,
have to roll call that?
No.
Because we're selling.
the next one is the approval of, this is an annual, it's the Tri-Town Senior Citizens Nutrition Program. And authorizing the supervisor to sign it. So basically, this is an agreement between Lewisboro, North Salem, and Somers for the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, which is essentially Meals on Wheels. We have about 15 seniors who take advantage of this. Every year.
2022 agreement?
It's yeah, they always do it
behind.
a year behind, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Based on the prior year. So I move that we authorize the supervisor to sign the 2022 Senior Citizen Nutrition Program as presented.
And I second it.
Roll call.
Mary Shaw, aye.
Aye.
Andrea Rendo, yes.
Dan Last, yes.
I guess I abstain.
Yeah.
Right? Stop signing, okay. Okay. Let's get that item. So next item is, it's old business pedestrian and bicycle safety projects bond discussion. So this is an opportunity for,
We forgot the
Oh.
Golden Bridge.
oh, sorry. I accidentally checked that one off. Approving Golden Bridge Hamlet Organization's request to waive building fees. So this is for the pocket park that the Golden Bridge Hamlet Organization are working on and helping to create on Fairmount Road. Great. Discussion, all in favor? Second. So who seconded?
Second.
Oh, okay,
The other residents.
Discussion.
Bridge.
discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, good. Now we go to old business. So pedestrian bicycle safety projects bond discussion. So we had some good feedback here from folks. And maybe Greg, you can give us a brief on what happens next. There's a bond resolution that's got to be placed on the next agenda,
Correct.
next town board meeting agenda.
So the borrowing resolution has been drafted by bond counsel. And there's a timing that has to be observed between the interplay of the borrowing and then the sending of it for the ballot measure. All right, and those have to be within 30 days of one another, and the borrowing has to come first. And ordinarily, it'd be subject to a permissive referendum anyway.
Right.
But under Town Law 94, the board is anticipating sending it for mandatory on the November 7th election. So presumably, you'd have a vote on it as early as July 10th. And you can, if the borrowing is approved, then after that, at the next meeting, whenever that is, there will be a separate vote to have it on the November 7th election. And there's timing that needs to be here with that. So it's probably going to be done later in that week of the July 24th week. And then we had to do it a certain amount of time so we can get it to the Board of Elections no later than August 7th, because it's got to be there 3 months before the election. The proposition has to be there in its form, in its final form, in its translated form. It has to be 2 languages. So we're probably going to end up doing it sometime during the course of the week of the 24th of July, which gives us the window of time that we need prior to the election for passing the measure and then getting the ballot prop to the Board of Elections.
So we're voting to get it onto the ballot. We're not voting to borrow.
First, you'll authorize the borrowing.
Right.
Okay, and anytime after that within the window, you could wait till the 24th or the 25th to authorize the borrowing as well. It just is a predicate to putting it on the ballot.
And that authorization to borrow is the bond resolution
Correct.
that we're going to present on July 12th.
The 10th is probably the earliest you present it. You could wait till the second meeting as well.
Oh, okay.
As long as it's before the measure where you put it on the ballot.
Right.
One of the tricky parts about that is if it's a borrowing resolution, it requires two-thirds of the voting strength of the board. So if you have a short board, you need 4 votes. You need at least 4 votes. So you may want to do that on the 10th and then do the actual action of putting it on the ballot in November at the later meeting,
Right.
25th or 26th, whatever we decide is going to be then.
So we have a meeting on the 12th. So instead of doing
I
the
think
10th.
I think July 10th is the.
12th is a Wednesday.
Oh, it is. Is it today?
Yeah, we're not
It's a
gonna
Monday,
do
yeah,
it Wednesday.
okay, yeah,
We're
okay.
not gonna be here.
For some reason I was thinking.
Greg, could you just summarize in layperson's terms what we're looking to do here and what the resolution is going to encompass?
The resolution authorizes the borrowing of up to $2.1 million this initiative for the bikeway, the bike path measures it's basically a transit oriented process. And that is done by the voting act of the board. And it basically goes right.
The idea was that we've been working on these things for years, and each of the hamlet centers has some very, good and exciting ideas about what to do. We want to make this a really, community involved process. So right from the start, including deciding whether to do it or not. So we're putting it out there.
And then after that, it would go to whatever design process that you were going to undertake to actually get a professional on board to configure the bikeways.
But that would be after the election in November.
Yes, you'd have to have the funding authorized to do that.
Yeah.
And we would expect to have another continuing community engagement process on crafting of the scope of the use of the funds for the three areas. Some places it could be heavy on, planning and engineering and prepping for things. Other places there may be very concrete already projects that could drop in. So it's going to be kind of up to the.
And just to address one of the comments tonight, and there will be anywhere where you're working in the DOT right away, you'll have to get a DOT work permit for anything you're willing to do there, but you're planning to do there, but it's not a situation where you haven't any significant number of underground utilities or anything like that. It's mostly a surface related project. And that should simplify it as simple as it can be for.
And just to address one of the questions that was mentioned or concerns is it doesn't preclude us from still pursuing grants with the state. So we should still do that, obviously.
In fact, it could strengthen our position for the grants if we do some of the design work and whatnot.
So the way the resolutions can be crafted, assuming that the voters support it in November, that allocation is going to be earmarked as defined in the resolution for these type of projects.
Specifically, because borrowing has a very specific purpose and you can't go outside the margins of that purpose. And the board will have a draft of the proposition as it's going to read on the ballot before it goes to the Board of Elections, so that you can have any comments that you want to have. But there is an abstract that bond counsel has actually provided in connection with the borrowing resolution, so you can provide that near term.
So my question is this, the benefit to borrowing now as opposed to waiting until the master plan is complete and we have a better idea of where the town's going. What's the benefit to borrowing it this year when the master plan won't be finished until next year? Can anybody answer to that? I mean, I just find it hard to borrow money when we don't know exactly what we're borrowing for. We have an idea and we've had plans in the works, but there's no master plan yet that says these are our ultimate goals. This is our map, but this is our blueprint. That's what we've been doing all this work in the community to do. So I'm just trying to figure out why we're borrowing in 2023 when we have no plan yet to execute and don't know how much money we're going to need to execute that plan or have an idea of where we're going. Although we know based on the feedback thus far, it will include sidewalks. It will include bike paths because that's the feedback the community is giving.
May not go.
I think you just
go ahead. Sorry.
I think you just answered your own question in a sense. We know that the plan will include these things. We've just been overwhelmed with those kind of comments. So rather than waiting till the plan is done and then initiating this thing, which would end up the end of next year, so the funds are then not available till the next year. We should keep the momentum going. We have the whole community engaged around this plan, and they've been working individually on their hamlets and what they want to see there. So this will just enable us to come out of the gates hard rather than coming to a full stop and saying, oh, now we're going to be playing.
Well, listen, we all know how long it takes to plan and to map out. So first we have to finish the master plan, which won't be completed, it won't be completed or adopted until 2024. And then once that's done, then we start the planning process of what we want to see. We want to see. which then we're going to see, we're gonna have to hire the individuals who draw out the plan for the bike paths, for the sidewalks, where they're gonna go, where they're gonna start, where they're gonna end, what they're gonna connect. And that's gonna take, at the very least, until the end of 2024, because there's no way that's gonna be done in a couple months, which means, and maybe into the beginning of 2025, and that means we won't actually be spending money or implementing anything until, if we are definitely like being positive, 2025.
I think if I could jump in, I think in terms of where these sidewalks are going, there's been a lot of feedback and input with the pedestrian bicycle committee. We've talked about this for a while. For example, in Vista, Peter Cipriano actually had an architect put together drawing of where these proposed sidewalks will go in Vista. So we have an idea. We've already met with DOT to discuss that design. Same thing with Cross River and Golden's Bridge. We've had DOT visits and just to get there. So they're aware of what we would be pursuing in terms of sidewalks. And so I think in terms of the design piece, we kind of know what's going to be built, at least initially.
The other thing
the
is,
centers.
the other thing is that we have had the community give this incredible input over the course of the time from the beginning of the comprehensive plan project, that this is a priority. And we also know that people in finance are not exactly the fastest as far as processing paperwork. So it might be beneficial for us to get started now, because most bureaucrats I know are not exactly fast moving, to put it diplomatically. And also that just because we've started the process doesn't mean we have to sign on the dotted line for the money in November.
Right,
It's
so-
going to take.
But I mean, is there
a
some financial benefit? I mean, let's get to, like, I'm wondering if there's some financial benefit to getting this done this year as opposed to waiting. Like, are there some predictions that the rates are gonna get worse? But like, I'm not a fan of putting the cart before the horse, but I'm just trying to, wrap my head around the
If
benefit
you-
of doing it at this minute.
If you ask 3 economists what's going to happen, you're going to get 4 answers.
Yes, but we're not borrowing right now, we're authorizing.
We're
right? And you just, let me just finish one point here, that you just noted that, like, oh, we're gonna have to do some design first, so we're not. Well, that design, who's paying for that design? I mean, that may, if we need design, that could be the first tranche of usage of the funding potential, maybe, so. The fact that we've gone to the community and said, you want to do this? And they said, yes, this means we are teed up. And as soon as the conditions come to the point where, yeah, we've got a project, it's come together, we'll be able to do that instead of like, oh, okay, now how to get that going.
All right, so part 2 is something that was touched upon, which was people have been discussing that we're looking now with this money to do work on state roads. So I think that we need some clarification as to the fact that we're not repairing state roads, that we're talking about sidewalks. And I think then the question becomes from the community, why does the town of Lewisboro need to borrow money to build sidewalks on state roads when the state should be building the sidewalks that we need? So
Yeah, this thing won't do that.
I'm putting it out there because that is the question that people are asking, like, why does Lewisboro have to pay for sidewalks on state roads? People can understand and wrap their head around paying for sidewalks on private roads, or connecting, or even like trails, let's say, because I live on the business side of town, from East Street, like through the woods around, like not necessarily on 123, but off to the side. They can wrap their heads around that, but they can't, they can't understand why the town of Lewisboro needs to borrow money to do that part of it. So just, I'm asking for clarification for the residents.
Speaking as someone who's been on East Street every day, a couple of times a day, there's really no room for sidewalks on East Street in Vista. But I do believe that the plan that has been started for Vista is not on the state road, but it's near it. And it may be a part of the plan that we have the sidewalks and bicycle paths adjacent, but not on the state roads.
But I think the question about, why are we spending this money? Why don't we just go to the state and get it? We have tried that for, 13, 14 years. We put in grants for Golden Bridge. I don't know how many times. I'm running out of, can't even count at this point. And the fact is, we'll keep asking, but we are not high on the state's list for these things. If they look around and get all these requests for dollars, in terms of the number of people impacted and things like that, the math isn't great for us. We hope to get some of this sometime, but who wants to ask the community to just wait forever to have any kind of improvements? This bond, very, very roughly, we're talking about $66 on the average homeowner's tax bill. That's not nothing. We're not trying to say that that's, completely trivial, but just to put it in perspective. And for that, you're seeing these enhancements to the neighborhood, to your safety, to the value of the neighborhood. And I think, we're going to see whether the people feel that that's a good trade-off or not, the tax bill. My guess is that it's going to.
The answer.
My last question is on behalf of the feedback that we've been getting. And mind you, I'm not asking these questions because I'm against building the sidewalks or anything. It's because these are the questions that we're getting. Why are we as a town board willing to put forth a resolution for a bond for sidewalks and bicycle paths, but we're not willing to do so to fix our roads when we're barely fixing them on any type of regular schedule? And although 2.1 million doesn't necessarily pave many roads, it paves more than we're paving now. And our roads are another issue that our residents are concerned about. So the question that I'm getting is, why are we doing this 2.1 million for sidewalks and bicycle paths as opposed to $2.1 million for roads? So it's just, this is a discussion part.
I'm fully aware of that.
It's-
We appreciate
I don't know if
your-
it's opposed, it's where we are in time. What we're doing here is we're following a process which is gonna enable the town board to borrow this money, and then it's gonna go for the community to have input by way of that on election day and see if this is what the community wants to do. And the feedback that I've gotten is that this is, as we heard from people today, from Vista to Cross River to Golden Bridge, this is something to increase connectivity, continue to move our community, continue to essentially what are infrastructure improvements, which this board has been focused on for the last few years, continue that and lead the community where the overwhelming majority of the community, based upon the feedback we've gotten, is looking to go. So we're gonna, as we just heard, we're gonna have this dedicated funds, which the voters are going to have the final say on if they actually want to proceed forward. And then there's nothing stopping us from ensuring, consistent with the comprehensive plan, that we don't proceed forward on any component of this until something or many things are shovel ready. That's how we're going to proceed. And also we have an opportunity, which we still have ARPA funds, which also gives us another funding opportunity to maybe connect with something down the road, whether it's next year or it's the year after. What Dan's bringing up, and I agree with him, we're being proactive is the answer. And part of the thing is this is an opportunity to get ahead of the curve and tie in with the timing. The timing may work out exactly correct based upon what the comprehensive plan and the timing of when that's going to be completed. We may have the funding in place and have shovel-ready projects ready to go at the same time. So the timing may work out exactly well. And if it doesn't, the money is set aside for that dedicated purpose, and we could figure out how to proceed when we're ready to proceed.
Yeah, and I have 2 points. By doing this, it enhances the hamlet centers. It helps us with the longer term vision of making those centers be destinations, right? That people want to go to them. They want to enjoy what's there. It gives us an opportunity to then build up upon what's there today. So there is a possibility to further enhance Lewisboro in general. Right now in Golden Bridge, when people want to go somewhere, they go to, and look, we don't have a restaurant, right? If I had the ability to walk to a restaurant that's located in a shopping center, which could come to fruition.
You don't
But if there's a
like
sidewalk, I do actually, but it's takeout. So again, it's not a destination. I go there, I pick it up and I bring it home. But it'd be great if I can go there and, enjoy maybe, some music.
No, that would be lovely.
But the second point regarding the borrowing, so we don't know where interest rates are gonna be. We just reissue bonds that, every year we go through a reissue of our bonds and we're currently at 3.25 or 3.5. But by borrowing now, whatever the rate is, next year gives us an opportunity to now incorporate this bond into the reissue that we're gonna do with all the existing bonds that we have. So if the rates go down, we can take advantage of them. But if we don't take out the bond now and we wait till later, the rates may actually be higher and we won't have that opportunity to essentially include it as part of the reissue that we do.
So then my last question is, then why don't we also ask for a bond for roads and put that on for a referendum in November as well? And have a bond for the sidewalks and the bicycles and a separate vote on borrowing or bonding for additional money to repair some of our roads that so desperately need repairs.
So I would volunteer that we talk about this every budget season, and my principle there is that the roads are not actually capital expenses, and you should be paying them in sort of real current dollars, because you have to pay it every year. It's not like you're buying a house and okay, I bought it now, I need to amortize that. So we really want to treat these differently, that road paving should be considered, even though, in the accounting basis, you can call it a capital expense, but as a management exercise, it should just be every year. And I agree, we need to put some more into that budget.
And I agree with you. And I
but it
think
shouldn't-
that
I don't
we
like
need to start adding our roads as a line item, but we can't put as much as we need into that budget line as we should. We can start and then we can build upon it every year, but we're so far behind that I'm thinking that if we don't bond for some of it, that we're never going to catch up. But that's just right. Okay.
If I may, in one positive aspect of the biking and walking path is it increases the quality of life and opens the potential for further development, businesses possibly, or places to visit, maybe some sort of other amenity, which might raise our tax rolls a little bit, which would be an incredible thing. The other thing is it's not as zero-sum game. We can probably, if we do raise taxes for the roads, which I've gotten feedback that's something that a lot of people are willing to pay a few more dollars for smooth roads, that we can do both. But at the same time, we should not lose momentum as far as getting these walking paths and bicycle paths going, because it's one, it increases the beauty of our community. Two, it increases the safety of our community and our cohesiveness as well. It's fun for people from Vista to meet with people from Lewisboro or other parts of the community.
I agree with all of those things. I'm just throwing out all the questions that I get.
Sure.
And the roads are, I know. And, and then the other thing that we have to factor in the building of all these sidewalks is the cost of maintenance and repair to those as well. And we have a great deal of trouble keeping up with the maintenance and repair of our roads. And that is a concern of mine as well. And the thing is that I really want the sidewalks because I really enjoy the idea of being able to walk from Oak Ridge down to East Street or down to back the other way to Onatru, similar to how in Pound Ridge you can walk from the town park all the way into Scott's Corners and back. And I love that idea. And I think that it will help our businesses. I'm just saying, we're talking about all of this and so these are the questions, these are the concerns. And obviously different residents in the community place greater value. Some place greater value on the maintenance repair of the roads versus sidewalks. And some people really want to see sidewalks, bicycle paths, and are willing to postpone the road issue. So, there are arguments on both sides. So I just want to make sure that we discuss it all, because that was the purpose of this evening, and that all the questions that we've been getting from the residents are answered before we decide to put this on for a vote in July.
Yeah, and I think also the other point, when you compare paving versus this concept, where do you get the biggest bang for the buck, right? Paving is somebody's road, right? It's the person that's complaining is the person that lives on that road. I mean, I get the phone calls, so I know. Whereas the concept of pedestrian safety through sidewalks and bike lanes, that's more impactful, right? It impacts more residences.
I mean,
So that's another way to look at it when I think about, because I agree with you. There are roads we don't pave as much as we should. Fortunately, we had a mild winter. Could we, one idea is, can we take the money that we didn't spend in salt and apply that towards paving and get another street paved potentially?
I mean, just for reference, the fact is that our budget for paving is still lower than it needs to be.
Yeah.
Relative. We all knew that. It's short by, just order of magnitude, maybe it's $400,000 a year. That just in very rough terms is $100 again on the average tax bill. But we're still kind of in this post-economic crisis.
Well, we're in a
clawback
challenging time.
mode, at least mentally.
economic-wise.
But this is
Right, and
That's
just
the-
tonight,
so
we're
we're talking
talking about $166 additional tax, just on what we're
66.
talking about, 100, he said. Roads, if we were at 400,000
Oh,
plus the bonds,
Yeah.
which you estimated was 66. That tonight, we're talking an additional 166 on average per household.
Mhm.
Just for those two things. So, I mean, we tend to talk about this by household often when we talk about what we're gonna be borrowing for, so. Listen, there's a lot of work to be done in this town.
Yeah.
It's a lot of
we
things.
don't have much in the way of infrastructure or anything.
Nope.
So if you go to literally any other town around here, they're doing a lot more of this kind of stuff. We are actually way behind. And I think, we'll see. We'll see.
The other thing is, you had brought up ARPA funds. We have the water system at the town park that I'd like to gently bring up again, is something that we need to take care of as far as our infrastructure.
Yes.
The well and the filtration system are grandfathered in by the Department of Health, and that's something we need to drill a second well and have a brand new filtration system. Maybe we could use a chunk of the ARPA funds for that. But, there's a lot to think about, making sure that we leave this town in a better place for our younger residents. Not that I'm old or anything.
And Andrew, moving forward on what you're talking about, then you should, come forward with a concrete proposal. You're talking about costs. So what you're not saying on the flip side, yes, roads need to be addressed also, but you're not saying the people I've spoken to, as opposed to $166, people in town would be willing to spend $300 or $400 or $500 and to address road issues on the generational. You're not telling me that. You haven't said that people are willing to do that. You said this is what the issue is. The flip side is, okay, then how do you want to pay for it? So we've been trying to be fiscally responsible here. The difference between trying to keep tax increases within the tax cap over years, allowing us to do things like take care of our employees and take care of things that needed to be addressed. We're trying to be fiscally responsible, but being fiscally responsible means you have to spend money in an accountable way to make sure that things improve. And that's what we've been doing. We've been doing that in infrastructure, all the playgrounds across town, generational improvements that have been done, that have been addressed for the first time. We're tackling issues that have not been addressed for a generation in this town. And that's what a lot of these things that we've been trying to do head on and making a difference by looking at what things cost, spending it in the most wise way for the benefit of our community, enhancing the quality of life for members of our community. And if you do that and make it a better place to live, and as Mary said, you're going to increase the revenue, which is going to create more opportunities going forward. And if we have a bigger revenue opportunity, then we can address things like roads going forward, because we'll be able to budget it on a going forward basis, and this hopefully at some point get caught up. So that could be part of a line item which addresses it, as opposed to continuously chasing out.
And I think once we finish our comprehensive plan, that will be another feather in our cap, so to speak, in that we'll have a comprehensive plan. We'll be able to make those grant applications look even more attractive because we have a plan. And so, you know, between that, our creative fundraising that we've been doing the last couple of years and the community engagement, it's a wonderful time to make this happen.
So in response to Rich, I'm not saying that, I don't really think that I'm the one that needs to come up with a game plan. My point is that we as a town board need to come up with a game plan. And what I'm doing tonight is bringing forth opinions and concerns of community members that have come to me. And that was the point, discussion. I don't feel the need to defend myself because these aren't necessarily all of my opinions, but rather things that needed to be discussed as part of this discussion. And I have brought up in the past that I feel that we need to increase the line item in the budget for the highway department for paving as one step. The problem is you can't increase it all at once to do the amount of work that needs to be done. So as a town board, we all need to come up with a game plan together as to what that number is.
Mm-hmm.
And $100 is just an example of what it could be if we increased it to $400,000. Bonding is another way to approach the idea of paving the roads. And I bring it up this evening because we're talking about bonding for other things as part of a discussion. And this discussion should lead the entire town board to come up with a game plan, not just me, as to address those issues.
Yeah, and I think we're 2 months away from starting the budget process.
Yes.
Typically around August timeframe is when we have requested budgets come in. So that could be an opportunity for us to see, okay, how many more roads do we want to pave next year? We already have a schedule of for paving for this year. Let's look at next year's schedule and say, okay, which are the roads that are in dire need of paving, and what do we need to get those roads paved, and then we factor that into the budget. You know, it's obviously going to result in using more of our rainy day funds, but we can certainly consider that. So, and then to your point, maybe build on it year after year.
Exactly.
So. Okay, anything else?
So we confirmed our schedule. That was a little bit.
Do we need to do
uh,
anything
a
to
little bit.
approve it, or did?
Not
tonight.
Not today. Just agree to place it on the agenda for July 10th.
Yes.
July 10th, not the.
We put the draft resolution, Tony, on the town's website so people can
Sure.
take a look at it.
Yeah. Do that.
So
And the resolution, sorry to interrupt there, the resolution, it's the way it's worded, it's pedestrian and bicycle safety improvements. So whatever falls under that description, whether it be crosswalks, sidewalks, signaling devices.
Mhm.
And
It's all of
this,
the above.
to let our fellow community members know, this has been drafted by
Bond council.
council. So it will be legal in its nature, but spiritually, it's something that we're all interested
Sure. It's only like 3 pages.
in. No
Pretty
offense intended. Council.
Blank document.
I didn't do it.
So bond resolution on 7/10,
I would say yes.
and then on 8.
No, maybe 7.
I mean, I'm sorry,
7/26.
7/26 or so would be the
Can't be
The ballot
10.
measure.
the ballot measure, right? The resolution for
It's
that.
gotta be at the Board of Ed or Board of election.
There's no.
So do we have to
process on that?
vote now to put the?
Not to put it on the agenda, no.
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 That's right,
There's
24th is
no
Monday.
public hearing, it's just a borrowing resolution. That you would pass first. There's certain borrowing that does
that's right.
require public hearings in advance. This is not one.
Okay. Okay, good.
So after the 24th, sometime soon after, we should schedule
Yeah, I think
potential special meeting for this,
for that, yeah.
yeah, for that particular item. Okay. All right, so that wraps up the new business or old business. Now we go to public comment number 2 for new business items only. Anybody here would like to say something? Go ahead.
I just want to say one thing. I
That's
really,
Elena Dunn.
that South Salem, we don't have sidewalks. It's okay. I bought my house over here because I can walk to the horse and house. It's okay. For real.
There used to be a sidewalk here, though, I heard.
It's like a
kinda
little
comes over.
strip. It's fine.
Yeah,
It's not a big state road where cars fly, so I think a couple things that I was just thinking about. Putting the sidewalks on the state roads, it's because the businesses are on that state road, right? So thanks, Rich. So that's why they're there. The other thing, I appreciate Andrea being concerned about raising taxes, which we're all concerned about, which made me remember, and I can't remember exactly, didn't you all vote a while ago on keeping the taxes down for the veterans and the first responders?
That's correct.
Right.
yeah.
So thank you for that. I mean, that's like so great that you did that months ago. I think the school board did that also. So thank you for that. That's all.
Thank you. Anyone else here? Oh, okay, how about on Zoom? Carol Cernak, I'm gonna ask you to unmute.
Hi, I'd just like to speak to the last conversation about the bike paths and the walking paths. I agree with Andrea and Barbara about not putting the cart before the horse and not asking residents to pay for something that's not in our master plan. And also, what about eminent domain? I mean, how many businesses and houses are going to have to give up to eminent domain? And who the heck would want to walk their kids on a state road in a stroller or let their toddler ride on a tricycle or anything like that? Secondly, are there any accident reports on these main roads that people are talking about putting roadways and bike paths? Additionally, you know, if you want to get stuff like this done, increase your tax base, open it up to more businesses. You know, maybe if you wanted to live someplace that you could walk better or ride better, other than in the nature preserves and the state parks, move to a different community. They've been working on these Lewisboro, actually, before the state took over, had every roadway was a walking path and a bike path. So, I mean, are we going back a couple hundred years? And finally, you're taxing the senior citizens who have spent their lives here and put their children through high school out of the community. There's nobody left here that's lived in the community. Young people go to school here. They come back to their parents' house to go to college, and then they're gone. There's no base for those people to live here. My husband has lived here for his entire life. I only know of a handful of people that have lived here their entire lives. This is what makes a community. It's not bike paths and roadways. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol.
Also go to the booth.
Let me just see if there's anyone else on Zoom. Anyone else on Zoom would like to speak? No? Okay, you may come up.
Thank you very much. Kathy Manello again from East Street, South Salem. I appreciate that thought as far as with the person who just spoke. I think sometimes we think of ourselves and say, why do we want to move? Why should somebody be forced to move? We've got an incredible momentum here and we're not stopping. So we're not waiting for New York State to come and help us. We're doing this ourselves. We've had different events that we've already started already. So if it's $166, I know where that money's going. There's other taxes we have, schools are, we don't know. So I understand what the other prior person was saying, and we don't want to lose people, but we also want to gain people. We want to gain businesses. Do you know when we came here and we looked at Pound Ridge, I used to walk, and we've been here 25, 26, 7 years now. Went through Pound Ridge, and all of a sudden we were just like, oh, it looked like a sleepy town, right? I thought, wow, now I stop. There's so much there, but it had to happen. Then people are like, wow, look at that place that just opened up. Look at that business. Look at that bakery. I really want to come here now. That's what we want for Vista. And that's what we should have for Vista. So we have a great opportunity here. And I respect everybody in town and all their feelings. And I know a lot of people have hardships, older people especially, and they have a limited income. But I think we can all work together. I really do. And I think we don't need to have always the state telling us what we have to do, because it could take another 5 years before we get it done. I mean, I've been in New York for a long time. So I appreciate all of you listening. And again, I respect everybody who called in. I know there's always a number. I know there's a cost with everything, but I really feel we have so much to give to this right now. And it's just not a sidewalk, and it's just not a bicycle's path. It's a community. We're able to walk. And yes, that 123 is fast. But imagine what's going to happen now. We can stop some of that by people saying, I don't need to go 75 miles an hour. I need to stop and I need to stay in that community. I want to be a part of that community. So again, I'm sorry, I didn't know if I took extra time, but I just want to say thank you so much.
Thank you, Kathleen.
Just a question, you know how we kind of get an estimate about how much it costs per mile to pave a road? Have we gotten an estimate as to how much it costs
I
for
think,
so much
I
sidewalk?
think that's what they factored into this number. Is that correct, Ken?
The
committee?
original number we came up with was just based on the amounts that went into the Golden Bridge grant, some time ago, which was, detailed out for X amount per yard of sidewalk and all the rest of that. So it has a basis, but we don't know exactly what the scope is that Cross River may decide they want to go for, whether it's actual length of sidewalk or small crosswalks and things like that, so we'll see, but those numbers are available.
I think it also depends on how much extra we want with it as well, because it's not just the sidewalk, but the notice, the light and a warning signal that there's a cross path.
According to DOT is
Right.
$5,000 in traffic signaling devices per corner. I
Right.
was just on a call with them.
Yeah. So it depends on how many corners we cover or how far it goes.
And there's still a chance they may pay for that because they've done the study, right?
In Cross
Cross
River,
River. So
They haven't done the study yet.
they're going to be doing.
They're going to be doing, that's why I had a call with them last week.
Okay.
On this, how long this has been kicking around, all development in the hamlets should be required to incorporate up-to-date site construction and design standards intended to produce attractive and safe facilities. Detailed attention must be paid to such features as vehicle access, parking, lighting, landscaping, drainage, signing, and pedestrian movement. In case anybody wondering where that's coming from, that's the 1985 master plan. So the difference between then and moving forward is we're have a specific plan with a specific amount of money to move forward to actually turn the concept, which the town and the people in the town is apparently have been behind for decades,
And in
turn it
fact,
into something
we
specific.
have the pedestrian master plan addendum that was passed some years ago. And we'll find that it will be identical, but there'll be a lot of overlap between what finally comes out and that. So it's a logical evolution.
And that's pretty good. That was 1993, I believe. I shared that with DOT, my.
No,
Was that
this one.
the complete streets.
Complete Streets is about 2010
Oh,
or
okay.
11. And then the
Yeah,
addendum that we
the
did
addendum
was
was,
2014 or 15.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the saga continues.
Okay, so next we have approval of claims. So I motion that we approve claims.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
I,
Aye. Polling of the board. Start with you, Andrea.
wonderful fireworks on Saturday night. It was touch and go. We weren't sure whether we were gonna have to cancel. It was an interesting day on Saturday, but the weather pulled through and the fireworks were spectacular as usual. So thank you to everyone who came. Thank you to the Department of Parks and Recreation. Thank you to all the sponsors and donors. Sunday, I got to attend the Pride event. It was lovely, and the added benefit was that the playground was there. So the children who came had the playground as well as all the other activities, and thank goodness the weather held up for that as well. And so now we pay the price a little bit today outside, but that's okay because we got to enjoy our weekend. So happy 4th of July to everyone next week. That's it.
Go ahead, Mary.
Oh, I had the great fortune to attend the annual dinner at the Vista Firehouse a few weeks ago, and I was grateful to bear witness to the process and the inspection. And I was also at the playground opening on June 3rd. That was lovely. Thank you to everyone who donated. The Playground Improvement Committee did a wonderful job, and you can still buy a brick. Please check the website for more details. They're talking about a communication board that people with different abilities can communicate, those that are nonverbal. So they're looking to have that installed. I also attended the fireworks as well as Juneteenth and Pride. I did more than just attend Juneteenth and Pride, and I'm grateful for this community being so inclusive. It just is impressive and an honor to serve such an incredible community. And I'm grateful for Nicole Caviola as head of Parks and Recs for making all of that happen. I'm also grateful for the open space people and the trails people who clear away the weather damage that happens at places like Leon Levy Preserve. Look forward to continuing to work with everyone who volunteers in the community.
Excellent, thank you. Rich.
Thanks, Tony. All I can say is that what seems to be a newfound spirit in Lewisboro is just really something. June has just been an incredible month in this community, from the playground to Juneteenth to fireworks and Pride. That's all in 1 month. It's been a busy month, and it's just in my 25 years here, it's just incredible to see how the community's been coming together. And as I said many times, and other board members have said many times, this community is what it is because of all of you, the thousands of people in our town who give up their time away from their families and just show the dedication. And the new residents have come here, combination of the new residents and the less new residents just coming together. Thank you. More experienced residents coming together in the spirit of cooperation and just moving things forward in our community. It's just great to see. Glad to be here to be a part.
Ben.
Yeah, I would second all those things, and maybe I'll just, so many people have been responsible for making these wonderful events happen, but I did want to call out Jane Crimmins for really doing the hard work, starting a couple of years ago and sticking to it and really kind of cracking the shell open a little bit for the community. And so thanks to that. And just a note on, the discussion today on the bond and the bike pedestrian stuff. I was really excited to hear the enthusiastic input, because I think that's really what it is. Obviously, community is people, But you do need physical infrastructure. We've seen that, to facilitate that. And people deserve that. I mean, you look at the playground, right? I mean, playground's about the kids, but you need the appropriate physical infrastructure there. So I think we're going to find that this is a wonderful way to coalesce in different hamlets around what people want to see to support that community building. So I find it very exciting just to watch this process unfold.
Yeah, go ahead.
For those of you who live on the Vista side of town, I would, not that I want to end this meeting on a down note, but please lock your cars. Please don't keep your keys in your vehicles. There's been an uptick in the number of vehicles being broken into. A couple cars have been stolen. There was an incident in the Vista Market the other day with some perpetrators going into vehicles in broad daylight. The other thing that I would ask is this, calling 911. I totally appreciate that. If the troopers show up and do their job, again, greatly appreciated. However, if the troopers show up to investigate a claim that you're making, I would appreciate, as liaison to the police department, if it is the state troopers and not our local police department, that you also make a non-emergency phone call to Chief Alfano at the precinct, because the information is not trickling into our police department as quickly as it has in the past. And as a result, he is not aware of some of the things that have gone on when the state troopers have responded or done investigations. And he would like to be involved and he would like to be proactive with the police force. So please, I greatly appreciate all the time and effort that our state troopers put in town to back up our police department. But I know that Chief Alfano would appreciate if the troopers do show up, that a backup phone call. I know it takes a little bit extra of your time, but if you could just give them a ring to make sure that we're all on the same page, it'd be greatly appreciated.
Okay, I think you wanted to.
I was remiss in not mentioning a special thanks to Cynthia Ryan, Dawn Berenson Brown, and Tisha Stapleton for Juneteenth and making it happen for the last 3 years. And also, as far as Pride goes, to the never tiring Rachel Simon and Jason and Michael Pignatello are the main people behind it. I know Elena Dunn has done a lot as well for Pride, and I'm grateful for that. And I apologize in advance if I've forgotten any names. So thank you, Tony.
Okay, yeah. And Rachel was just offered a position with the county?
She's going to be the chair of the LGBTQ plus advisory council for County Executive George Latimer.
Awesome, good. Yeah, so I think my colleagues here covered most of what I wanted to say as well, but I think to Rich's point about June, it's just been a very happy and joyous month here in the town of Lewisboro, with all the events, the ribbon cutting for the playground, Juneteenth, Pride, the fireworks, and having the playground. I think it was Elena who called it the jewel. It's such an attraction for any other event that we have at the town park, and you're seeing more and more people come out with their families, and they're there using the playground. So it's spectacular to see it. I think that was a great investment. Very happy with the way things pulled together to make it happen. And yeah, so hopefully we'll be doing more of that kind of those kinds of initiatives moving forward. And just point on the sidewalks. I think there was a question about other sidewalks on state roads. I mean, look at 117 through Katona. That's a state road. There's sidewalks there, and people use them all the time. Look at Pound Ridge. We talked about Pound Ridge Center and 172 and how sidewalks are even Bedford, right? Bedford Village.
But they perform kind of a psychological task. Once you put them in, they know, as you're driving through there, you are a little less inclined to consider the place just like a pass through highway. And it's a community with people. So then you just naturally want to slow down.
Right, and then I think it also, I think a point I made earlier, it becomes a catalyst for other things that you can do within the hamlet centers. We talk about increasing our tax base, well, put in sidewalks and you see how those hamlet centers will develop. I mean, I've spoken to the shopping center owners and they have visions for the future, but it's all based on having sidewalks and having the ability for people to get to the shopping centers and being able to then create a destination that people are gonna want to come to. I actually have a meeting mid-July with MTA and Metropolitan Transit Authority and DOT regarding the parking lots that are unused in Goldensbridge. And they have a vision. I actually did a little brainstorming, presented my vision to them. They're interested, and we're gonna have a meeting to figure out, okay, what can we do here to enhance and create a transit-oriented development that could potentially serve seniors. So now they can walk to the train platform, they can walk to the shopping center. So that's what, those are the kind of things that I like to see in Lewisboro going forward. So very exciting.
Do you want to consult on more data by that?
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
right.
just update. This is something that Carol brought up, but the board has spoken about this. So
A lot.
yeah, a lot. And we've gotten input from our incoming highways.
So, yeah.
From other sources as well.
Yeah.
And we're gonna essentially shelve the salt dome proposal right now.
The lease.
The lease, yes. And we're gonna get some input and regroup it since the season's ending, so we're gonna just take a fresh look at it new year. And
part of it is because the season
season is, yes, the season
it's
for
pretty much ends
most seasons.
this month, the season for
Yes.
so
So
Ship has sailed.
that's right. So we have the language which we're gonna utilize going forward. So we're just gonna take a fresh look at it with the language we have and address it in 24.
And put it out
Yes.
to bid again.
Okay, see, so next we have announcements. The next town board meeting is Monday, July 10th.
Not the 12th, right there.
At 7:30 PM here at the Townhouse, 11 Main Street, South Salem. I'd like to motion for us to go into executive session to discuss personnel issues.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
So thank you, everyone here, for coming out tonight. Hopefully it's not thundering and lightning. I think it looks pretty quiet out there.
I
Thanks
think
everyone
he's
on Zoom.
trying to